Also, let's get to this story then, because it's been making the rounds all day. Government is racing against time to avert a possible shutdown of all 9 plants of the independent power producers, as today marks the deadline giving to government to pay up at least 30% debt owed the IPPs or risk power cuts. The Chamber of the Independent Power Producers, in a memo, has already directed all of its members to shut down their plans from July 1 to July 8 if government fails to pay up. And of course, Joy News is learning government is locked up in a meeting with leadership of the IPPs to negotiate a way out. Fortunately, we've been joined now by James Avert, who's my colleague monitoring the developments as we speak now. James, let's talk about, first of all, this directive coming through from the IPPs. July 1 to July 8. What's accounting for the directive?
Yeah, so you know that the IPPs had demanding that government pays them at least 30% of the debt owed them to the tune of some 1.73 billion Ghana cedis. Now, in the course of the negotiation, the chamber is the one leading the negotiations on behalf of the all of the IPPs. And then it got to a point where we saw a directive or an invitation from government that it wants to meet the individual IPPs, not negotiation on the basis of the chamber. And so it is from that invitation that the chamber gave that memo on 2 things. One, to remember the resolution they have taken as a chamber as they are walking into that meeting and uphold that in the course of the negotiation. Then the other issue was that if all negotiations fail, government decide not to heed to that, then they will do a phase 1 of the shutdown, which will be from tomorrow to the 8th of July. So that was the basis of the directive.
So how about the meetings taking place today? What do we know?
So as we are speaking, what we know is that that meeting is still ongoing. We picked the signal as around 11 a.m. that meeting has started between the government and the IPPs as a group. And so the initial individual negotiation was from 27 to yesterday. And today they are meeting them as a group led by the ECG, who is the government negotiator or leading the negotiations in this. And so what we are learning is that in some few hours, that meeting will end. Right. And then the conclusion of that meeting would determine whether power stays on or power goes off. Now, what we're also picking up is that in those individual negotiations, some of these IPPs have accepted a deal with government. In fact, we are told that they have accepted some amount of payment from government as well. And so what it means is that what we are not clear with is how much exactly government has paid these IPPs. But what it means is that if at the end of the day, they resolve to put power off, these individual IPPs who have accepted this payment are not going to shut down, which means that not all of them will be shutting down. We are also expecting another meeting at 5 p.m. after government meeting. This one between the individual IPPs themselves.
So they'll be making their position known on this matter.
Exactly. After this meeting, then we'll get an official position from them whether they are going to shut down operations or not.
Okay, fingers crossed. James Avert there James Avert, I should say, with the latest on what's happening as far as the energy sector is concerned. Thank you, James. But we know that in Parliament, the minority is sending out a passionate appeal to the independent power producers to rescind their decision to shut down the plants, as they fear the country could be plunged into total darkness. Here is a minority spokesperson on energy, John Jinapo.
Indeed, the Mines and Energy Committee met the independent power producers over the weekend. The situation is indeed dire. We are on the brink, and if nothing is done, the independent power producers will shut all their plants, bearing in mind that these IPPs constitute about 70%, to be specific, 67% of thermal power produced in Ghana. So a shutdown of their plants would mean that this country would experience massive load shedding, massive blackouts, massive doomsday that has not been experienced before. Or when 50% of the total power produced is taken out, your guess is as good as mine. I have spoken to former President Mahama, and he has indicated that on his behalf, I should make a passionate and humbling appeal to these independent power producers, that for the sake of this country, he's making a passionate appeal to them to reconsider their decision towards shutting their plants on the 1st of July. That is the deadline they've given to government. And so I want to make a passionate appeal and plead with the independent power producers to give government and the nation some more time. But even as we are pleading with them, we wish to call on government to demonstrate leadership, to show commitment. And I think that the approach being adopted by the finance minister will not resolve the issue. The finance minister, instead of dealing with the chamber of IPPs, is engaged in selective payments, discriminatory payments, selecting some preferred IPPs, paying them, and leaving others to their own fate. We want to call on the finance ministry and government, and particularly the president, to intervene urgently in this matter and ensure that we find an amicable solution. The debt as
Well, let's stay on issues relating to Ghana's debt crisis, because the United Nations Development Programme is equally raising red flags over what they describe as bias on the parts of three of the world's biggest credit rating agencies against some African countries, including Ghana. In its latest report on lowering the cost of borrowing here in Africa, the United Nations Development Programme says the continuous downgrade of Ghana's economy is based on, quote, less objective assessment, and is costing the state and other African countries some $74 billion US. With this amount saved, it is more likely that Ghana may not have signed up for the program with the International Monetary Fund. Member of the research desk, Kofi Ajay, will be joining us later on, but I want to bring in now, of course, Richard Kojinyako, who's also been taking a look at the document. Richard, just help us to break down the issues. We start off first with the ratings agencies that are being cited in this report. What does it say?
The agencies cited includes Moody's, Fitch, Standard & Poor's, Global Ratings Agency, which are all being criticized of operating more or less an oligopoly, where a few companies exert significant control over the financial or capital markets. And so these credit ratings agencies, according to the report, have a significant impact on countries' ability to access and raise capital in international markets, and also provide information to investors and about the risks and opportunities associated with a sovereign borrower. We know that the president for some time now has raised concerns over how Ghana is being shut out of the international market because of this alleged bias. What was his reason for this? And I bring you the reason that the president at the United Nations General Assembly began what some describe as his campaign against what he terms as bias by the rating agencies. Just last week, he reinforced the argument with a harsh tone that these agencies that used to hold Ghana favorably in the capital market has been reckless in the recent downgrades.
Comfortably and convincingly say this. As the AU champion for African financial institutions and leader of a country which recently had to deal with one of the most difficult periods in its post-independent history, difficulties which were exacerbated by the reckless behavior of rating agencies that engaged in pro-cyclical downgrades, shutting Ghana out of capital markets and turning a liquidity crisis into a solvency crisis. Afro-Exim Bank, under its counter-cyclical response mechanism, provided timely support to help Ghana navigate the macroeconomic management challenges worsened by Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine in an orderly manner, when suddenly we realized we were alone.
So this was the president raising the concern earlier. Is it the suggestion from the United Nations Development Programme that, look, the fact is our economy is not in the best shape? So what's their suggestion? That Fitch, Moody's, S&P, they're not being fair to us? What's really the case?
Blessed, not entirely. The focus is that the credit ratings agencies' home bias and pro-cyclical ratings for the UNDP, they say, must be addressed. They're being urged to do away with the discretionary and idiosyncratic actions and instead implementing a consistent and publicly documented methodology and model-driven assessment of countries' debt with attention to regional nuances and each national economy's macroeconomic priorities.
And well, on that note, I just want to bring this up because we've been speaking to the regional director of the United Nations Development Programme for Africa, Homa Isiakonwa, and here are excerpts of that yet-to-be-aired interview when I sat down with her on the sidelines of the AfriExim annual meetings.
It's an issue, but there are ways to make finances cheaper for the continent. That's something we have to look at, and we've been looking at it at UNDP. For instance, we just did a study on the cost of borrowing and the credit rating bias that puts African countries at a disadvantage. If we can deal with that, you save $75 billion a year for just 16 countries that we surveyed.
Are you saying this is becoming a reality? Because our president raised that during the AfriExim meetings where there's this continental push for our own standards and ratings. Is that the solution to the problem?
That's part of the solution. I mean, you will always have to participate in the international rating agencies because they have a standard.
Because we can't do without them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that you can influence how they rate Africa, and it comes back to the perceptions. A lot of it is really perceptions. I mean, there are facts and there's a reality that you have insecurity in some cases and you have foreign exchange volatility in other cases. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There are reasons why all of these ratings are as bad as they are in some cases. But, it's not taking into account all the data, and it's also not always objective. Some of it is subjective. We know that there is, this country, Ghana, is surrounded by countries that are in violent extremism situations. So it must be risky, to invest in Ghana. No, don't do that. Take Ghana in its own right in terms of what it has to offer and what its potential is, and do that rating based on some objective data. Right? And if you did that, many African countries will not end up in the junk basket, and that will help also increase investments. Because if you look at the ratings, investors also are put out, right?
But I don't intend to dwell on that. The concern here is that if you look at the facts on the ground and compare them to the ratings that we have, and I'll use Ghana for example because we're here. We're heading for an austerity plan with the IMF, for instance. That's a reality. We're out of the market, and it's because of some policy measures that did not go right. So where's the bias really that you're pointing to?
Well, if you look at and the credit rating agencies themselves will also tell you that they could use more data that is available elsewhere, and that's what we're proposing. That there's econometrics data that sometimes is not factored in. African countries themselves need to pay attention when they are rated. They need to review the reports, and they need to put some resources into ensuring that they bring all the information that's required. That could perhaps influence where that rating goes. So there are things to do to reduce the bias in the rating. There is bias in the rating. We've established that. But there is also a problem with Africa's policies and policy orientation. I think we're talking more and more about policy sovereignty, that we need agency in the policy environment. We need African countries that are able to own their own policies and be accountable for it, So you're accountable to your people in terms of what regulations and policies you're adopting and how they're impacting the lives of the populations, not accountable to someone else out there, right? So yes, it's a balance.
Let's feed. Well, let's open up the conversation. Joining me now is an economist with GCB Capital, Courage, to analyze this whole conversation. Courage, thanks for your time. The point about how Africans or African economies are treated on the capital markets has come up again because of this interview, which is based on the survey conducted by the UNDP. First off, do you hold the view as well that there's some sort of cyclical nature by which we find some of these ratings agencies going about their assessments of countries such as Ghana?
Well, good afternoon to your listeners. I see a lot of reasoning and the argument being advanced by the UNDP rapidly. It is the case, and it's a first argument, that often contagions in the region and not necessarily that country in question would actually be used in rating this country. For example, she made an important point about the security threats around Burkina Faso, Mali, and places like that, which all surround Ghana, and how that could feed into, if you like, the political stability assessment of the country. The reality is that these agencies follow a model. And I am all for transparency, publishing these models so everybody get to see what goes into these models, the weight assigned to each of those categories, and then we can all be at peace with the ratings that come up. But that said, the African region, Ghana, and the many other countries surrounding, look at even Nigeria, for instance, with all of their economic power, oil and all of that, they are still in a debt situation that is not palatable. They are still having FS crisis that until this current government, they were operating this multi-layered system. That means if you are a foreigner invested in Ghana and Nigeria, your exit from the Nigerian market, if you so wish, is not easily, you cannot easily execute it because of the controls in place, really. You look at our country, Ghana, who would have imagined the level of depreciation we saw in 2022? And it has been the case, not even to the same magnitude, but it has been the case of currency weaknesses year after year in Ghana, really. So it tells you that there are peculiar risks in our country and in our continent, really, that would mean investors would have to be cautious if they have to take the risk, which probably may not exactly be the case with some very advanced countries, or even if in developing countries, they probably might not have the same profile as us, even if things are not exactly rosy in those countries. So I am for looking at countries in isolation and their peculiarities to rate them. But the fact again is that if you argue it's unfair, it is partly right, but there is also equally good justification for why they would rate your countries the way they rate them, because the losses investors took in Ghana in 2022 and even in this 2023 cannot be quantified. And I beg to differ with the president that it was purely a liquidity crisis. Yes, liquidity crisis to some extent, but there is also insolvency crisis at some point, really. These are things, so we must put the picture holistically before we make the argument. So yeah, she makes a lot of very good arguments, which I'm broadly aligned with. But I feel the country risk, the regional risk, and things like that are also quite enormous. And as investors who are looking for the safety of their money, the ease to repatriate those monies if the need be, and then your ability to make decent returns, you may be concerned about what rates are on offer given the risk you are taking. And so you won't fault them a lot for the kind of rate they demand on our bonds.
But we're still paying the price for it, isn't it? $75
Definitely.
billion in all.
Definitely, and that is per the estimation, really. 75 billion is a lot, but it's also a good argument for macro prudence. I mean, how we manage our finances all this while, the arrears we accumulate every year, the kind of debt we contract, and how the debt we contract, what projects they go into, the returns on those projects. It is my argument that if we are borrowing as an individual, as a government, as any entity, The idea is that the returns on the project you use your borrowed funds for to be able to service the debt. And that is not the case, in Ghana. We are running primary deficit, which means that our earnings is not even enough to take care of our non-interest expense, really. And so we even have to borrow to take care of wages and salaries for people who are supposed to be working and bringing money into the kitty. So our fiscal management is actually under question. And these are reasons we must look at it more holistically and find ways of streamlining our expenditure and our expenses in general, fiscal framework in general, so we could manage our revenue and expenditures better. And that is where we could begin to make savings that will reduce the amount of borrowing we go for. And when we do borrow, it should be going into commercial projects, social projects that have immediate return or have potential of generating return in the future, and not just into the recurrent expenditures that we normally borrow to feed the budgets, really. I think it's not appropriate. So while we chastise these rating agencies for bias, we should also look inward for the things we haven't done right, the reason they are biased against us.
All right, well, and just before we go, is it the case that you do not subscribe to the recommendation, for instance, the need for all these global rating agencies to publish clearly what their format or template is in terms of either objectivity or subjectivity, what they are on the lookout for?
Now, I'm fully aligned with that recommendation, and I actually made that point from the beginning. Transparency is key, so let all know what goes in where. And that is where I could independently get up and criticize the fact that I think your country risk score, maybe political risk score, is unfair. I think maybe your regional risk score is unfair. Or maybe this or that metric that you are scoring based on XYZ, the parameters that go in there, can say it's fair or unfair based on that transparency. As it stands, we see the overall rating, whether it's a CCC or a B or something, whatever it may be, and an outlook, and they give you some macro and then country parameters they use, but without really seeing the model and what weight each category carries. So if that transparency is there, we can all see what goes into the model, what weight is assigned to them. Then as an independent analyst, you're able to say, I think this categorization is unfair because X, Y, Z. But then as it stands now, we do not know what weights go where. And so it leaves it open to some of these criticisms, really. And don't get me wrong, I agree that there is some unfair treatment towards Africa, and of course Ghana and places like that. But I also think that it's my considered view that we have played a big part in that bias against us, which is something we must begin to correct. If we entrench fiscal prudence, if we entrench good fiscal management principles, really, and we are not running the size of deficits we are running, or we are not spending the loans the way we spend them that do not generate so much in returns to service some of these debts, perhaps they might begin to look at us in a more positive light.
Courage Buti, an economist, joining us on the polls here. Thank you for your time. We now take you to the Ashanti region, where barely a year after a residential toilet sunk into a galamsey pit, killing a woman, another house has sunk into the underground tunnels created by illegal miners at Odumase in the Asante-Akim Central Municipality. Digging beneath homes for gold has become a common phenomenon in the Odumase areas, with residents sitting on tenterhooks with the fear of some looming cavings. Love FM's Sarasa Saradonko visited the community and comes through with this report.
It's been close to a year since 26-year-old Gifty Manka's toilet sank with her into an illegal mining pit dug beneath her house at Odumase. But the practice of deep pit mining in homes at Odumase has not stopped. Part of this residential facility, a few meters from where Gifty died, sank on Sunday. I will describe the Odumase township as a sinking time bomb, ready to explode. Now, this gaping hole you see here leads underground to underground pits dug by illegal miners all across this area. Now, on Sunday, this building, which is inhabited by people at the moment, sank to the ground unannounced. Boom, just like that. And it's as a result of illegal mining underground, which is happening in the next house over there. And so people in the Udmasi area, including where we are standing close to this mosque, live in constant fear that they might be sinking down into a hole while they sleep. Though there were no casualties, residents sit on tenterhooks.
I am very scared, but I have no other choice. There are holes all around this area. They've dug almost everywhere because of galamsey.
This old woman shows me patches of cracks that developed in her room due to constant blasting by illegal miners beneath her building.
She says, the building shakes when they blast the rocks with explosives, so I asked them to patch the building with cement. I am very scared because if the building shakes and collapses, I would have nowhere to go.
Other residents are equally disturbed about the digging beneath homes in the town for gold.
I am scared I will sink one day.
When
they blast the rocks, the building shakes. She says, we sometimes think we will sink and die one day. She says, there is always fear because the building shakes when something small happens. We plead with government to ask them to halt their operations.
One of the mining fields can be found in this house. Our drone reveals the entrance to one of the deep pits through which miners enter to dig for gold beneath houses at Udumase. Packed with sacks of earth, this mine house is said to belong to one Alhaji Idi. A disturbed MC for Santiachim Central, Yao Kwachi, tells Love News attempts to stop the illegality have proved futile.
When it came to our notice, we made an arrangement. Some of them were arrested and sent to courts. The rest that will be in the house will let you know they are not doing it. Before you realize they will be doing it at night, that order. We have made several efforts to, prevent these things, to stop them. But it keeps going on. The attempt that we made was to, pull down all those structures, pull them down. But amazingly, some of the members within those houses they are still living in that houses. We gave them notices to leave there. Financing becoming a problem to pull them down. We are also thinking of where we are taking these people who are still in these houses too. So that has been a challenge. And, we are doing everything possible. Now, as it is, we are making plans to, look for funds elsewhere and to pull some of them down to serve as a deterrent to the other people living around those areas because it is becoming dangerous.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Udumase, Asantiachim Central, Ashanti Region.
Stay on the conversation. Erastus Asaredonko is joining us via Zoom. Also in studio, we have the coordinator for the Eco-Conscious Citizens, Olasawa. Thank you for spending some time with us. And we'll come to you shortly, of course, but let's just get underway whilst we wait for Erastus to also share his perspective with us. But this is not the first time we're hearing of this story. I recall somewhere last year when it happened, a lot of backlash, from people watching all across the country. And we've still not found solutions to these problems. It fits into this general failure on our part as a country to tackle illegal mining, is it?
Well, I mean, I just don't know what to say. We just seem to be going round in circles, round in circles, round in circles. And I keep saying that once the will is there, we will make some headway. I really can't get my head around what is going on. I don't know what we are waiting for before the severity of what is going on grabs us. We want mass deaths before we sit up. This is just not on. It's just not on.
And the area within which it's happening, I mean, many will say it shouldn't come to us as a surprise.
No.
Yes. So why not live with it?
Live with it? I mean, I don't quite understand. Live with it. We know that what's going to happen, if not today, tomorrow, we're going to have casualties. And we cannot bring people back to life. We need to understand that this is just criminal activity. And criminal activity needs to be stopped. You cannot be recklessly digging around, knowing very well, and just being unconcerned about the fact that people's homes could cave in, you could kill them because of a few bucks. When did Ghanaians become so greedy that they didn't care about their fellow men? What are the chiefs doing? What are the authorities doing? What are the people themselves doing? They have to come together and resist because it's their lives that are at stake.
But the feeling too is that is this not happening because maybe it's a ripple effect? Of course, many within the community see how some of quote unquote these illegal miners come into the community and get away with a lot of gold, a lot of cash, and they go scot-free. So why not do it at home? Could it not be a ripple effect of the broader challenge we have?
I mean, the broader challenge is that illegality goes on with impunity. The people engaged in it seem, and I'll use the word seem, to be prospering. And others are saying, I want a share of that. But we have to be do a little bit of forward thinking. What exactly is it that is going on? A few people may be making money, but generally, people are losing their lives, losing their homes, health concerns, and so on and so forth. So is it really a question of making money, or is it a question of penny wise and pound foolish? If you're looking at the net gains, are they really there? So why doesn't the community come together and say that, look, this criminality is not doing us any good. Our homes are under siege, our lives are under siege, and it really has to come to an end. It really cannot go on.
Can we hold the security agencies to account on this? Because the location and where these operations take place, it will be quite difficult to find out if anything is going on.
Well, I mean, when these illegal miners are coming, the security agencies, or at least the community, knows that they are not part of the community. There are people coming. So what is being done about it? This can be nipped in the bud at various stages. The security agencies, the chiefs, the people themselves, we need to sit up and say, no, we don't want you in our community because what you're coming to do is not to our benefit. Therefore, either stop what you're doing or go elsewhere, but we shall not tolerate you within our community. I think if more and more communities begin to say no, because when they are coming...
No, but I'm asking the question because of the location and where you find this happening. Some digging the pits right in their bedroom or in their rooms.
Yes.
Finding out will be difficult.
Well, I mean, I'm not quite sure that it will be... It might not be the easiest thing, but it will not be completely... impossible to find out because the repercussions are felt. So obviously, once they start digging, you can see in other places that cracks are unfolding and so on and so forth. But what I'm saying is that when you find these people coming into the area, we know then that something is about to happen. What are we doing about it? I'm just saying that it's a difficult situation, but I don't think it's impossible to tackle. And I know that in some areas, the town folks have their anti-illegal mining teams. We try and nip what is happening in the bud. But yes, if somebody is digging in their bedroom, it's going to be very difficult to find out. But as they are digging, the effects are known and what is being done about it.
Okay, let's get to understand the science surrounding this whole situation where you find people mining in their rooms. Erastus Asare-Donkor was the one who went into the community. Erastus, you're still with us, and thanks for spending some time with us as well. I mean, how did you first of all uncover this trend within the community itself?
Well, so the mining in homes at Odumse is an open secret. People know about it because the miners use.
Erastus, are you still with us? It appears we're having some...
Can you hear me?
Yes, okay, loud and clear now. Erastus? Okay, we'll try and reconnect Erastus. The MC for the area as well is joining the conversation. That's the MC for Konongo Odumase, Robert Kwache, joining us. Thank you, sir, for your time. You've seen the report as well. Are you triggered by what's happening?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Right. So what measures do you intend to take to tackle this challenge?
In fact, as I speak to you now, this has traveled to the Regional Security Council, and there is a serious committee set up to look at the best way to solve this once and for all. But as it stands now, they started this in-house mining long time ago. The pits has been there long time ago. So now, those affected buildings that we think that it may create serious problems for us. In fact, a decision has been taken with the regional NADMO and the Municipal Security Council to pull those structures down to prevent any serious disaster happening.
So you knew about these challenges all this while?
These challenges, yes, it has existed. Several efforts have been made. Some have initially were arrested, taken to, and it became a halt. Nobody was doing it. But because those that we identify, some we do cover them, later you realize that they have, at night, it's a difficult situation. In fact, it's a very difficult situation.
Is that to say that you are overwhelmed by what's going on in the community and that you're running out of control?
It is not easy. It is it's a difficult thing that we are, because we fought them several times. You go, you run, the next time you can't understand. There has been several stakeholders meeting, traditional leaders together with the assembly will call the owners of this house. You can't understand them. In fact, the attempt that has kept us not pulling most of these structures down is that in as much as these things are going on, some of them are still living in the houses. And the challenge is that where are we even going to place these people? In fact, Owerri Mines is supposed to do these things. You saw a shaft over there, which belongs to the mining company. They are supposed to protect these things. And all these things are, very worrying. I've been in office for 1.5, close to 2 years now. But these things have existed a long time ago. It's a serious issue.
Okay, well, why not lock down the area and do a thorough audit or search of what's happening in the
areas, not just that area alone. Most of the areas have been locked down. Dangers are there. Nobody is allowed to go there. At night, you will not realize. Before you realize, they will call you that people have jumped into the places going to do that. You go there, you run away.
Is that not questioning your authority or your, responsibility as MC for the area?
Like I told you, we do arrest some of them, put them before court. Like that. They go. Other family members are there, not willing to. The best thing is what we have decided to do. Pull down those structures, because we will not wait for disasters to come. When the place becomes very open, when somebody is going there, we all know. Now we are fortunate that the Owerri Mines, the regional security, together with the NUSEC, set up a committee to look for a lasting solution to solve these things once and for all.
So when will that feedback come from the Regional Security Council on this?
Hello?
So when is the Regional Security Council deciding on what to do? What the next steps will be?
I think that we are having the first meeting on this Tuesday. Today, for instance, some of the structures have been pulled down.
Okay.
Sure.
So what's next?
We are waiting for the final decision that will come after the Regional Security Council, together with the traditional authorities, and then the NUSEC.
All right. Okay. Thank you for joining us. That's the MC for Konongo Odumase joining us on the phone. Erastus, you're also with us. I was asking you earlier about what happens in the community and how come, of course, as the MC is saying, authorities are not able to effectively tackle the problem. Kindly unmute for me, Erastus.
So let me paint a picture for you. It's like Joy FM in Pokumlimli, and then the building that is next to your official building, somebody goes in there, digs a hole, and enters from there and start digging under Joy FM for gold. And so he digs all over and has a tunnel that leads to other houses downstream, west, east, and coast. And so all the buildings in Kukumlimle are hanging like that. That is the situation at Otumasi. And so you can count about, the other time we counted about 5 houses that have entrances leading down underground, where they enter and they start digging beneath houses for gold. And so the situation has been there. A lady has died out of it. She just went to attend to nature's call in her own home, and the toilet sank deep into the pit. They used excavators to dig her out. And that's just a year. Today, another house has sunk in the same manner. And so I would say that the whole place is a hanging town. Any moment, another place could sink, which could kill a lot of people.
Wow. Aula, you've been listening to this account, quite a chilling one. For all you know, where we are sitting now, I don't know if there's someone digging beneath us, but that's a scary situation. So someone creating problems for you when indeed you may not even be aware of what's going on.
But then, as was said, this happened, well, the MCA said this has been going on for a long time
now.
So we also ask ourselves if we're behaving like ostriches, because we know it's been going on for a long time. Some people are arrested, and then maybe we need a special court to only deal with these issues. And then it just goes on and on. Last year, a lady died. So between last year and this year, what have we been doing? Do we go to sleep until the next disaster? And I think it's very chilling to hear that the whole place could just be a disaster waiting to happen. It could just take a little rain, just anything, and everything caves in. So we need to act urgently. If it's a question of evacuating the place, we do so. But the idea that there's a situation and then we pay attention to it for a moment, and then when things seem to have subsided, we just sort of forget about it. That's what has been plaguing us. We need to deal with issues.
And the solution is a challenge. Do we lock down the entire area in your estimation?
I mean, the experts, not myself,
yes,
the experts would know what to do. But again, I mean, the situation didn't develop today. It's been developing for a period of time because we haven't nipped it in the bud. We all know about the saying, a stitch in time saves 9. We've reached where we are today. The experts will know whether we need to cordon off the area, the whole area, evacuate everybody. But for heaven's sake, we do need to take action quickly. And then there are other areas where this is happening. Let's not wait for things to escalate before we do something about it. Illegal mining is plaguing this country, and we seem to be taking things in a very laid-down manner. And I want to commend in various areas the anti-galamsey, anti-illegal mining group, whether at Asenkrom, whether at, I forgot, who are trying to take action to prevent such things from going on. Because a stitch in time saves 9.
Erastus, what are the residents telling you about whether or not, I mean, the possibility of shutting down the entire area?
So the residents, I will divide them into 2 groups. There are those who are directly affected by the underground mine in the town, and they want to speak up, but they are afraid that the other group that is doing the mining will attack them if they do so. But I find something strange this time around. When the second one happened, almost everybody in the community wanted to talk about it. Now it has affected them so much, they tell me that in the night you can't sleep because they use dynamite to blast underground.
Really?
And it shakes the building. Yes, it shakes the building. And so we counted some of the buildings that have huge cracks in there. And so now they are willing to come out and they want authorities to do something about it. But there is this political twist to this whole thing. As one of them told me that they were supposed to demolish a building, they can't because if you demolish it right now, people will say that as the MPP that is now demolishing their supporters' homes, and so it will be used as a political capital. That is why nobody wants to go after those who are doing it. But I have confirmation from the MCE that this particular mining within a particular house, which has gotten this one coming down, they are going to pull down that building. So we are looking at it to see how that will go.
Okay, and this is my fear, the point about next year being an election year. If nothing is done this year, bet you, I doubt if it will happen next year.
You see, what Ghanaians need to realize is that what is happening is pure wickedness. It's pure wickedness. And we need to have a cross-party solution. It's not about MPP, NDC, YWD. It's about Ghana. If people are involved in this reckless criminal activity, they can be, as was said, it's an open secret. They can be found, dealt with. We need to have courts that deal with matters speedily, special courts. And if the whole area needs to be, to save lives, we need to pull down the houses. We need to do what needs to be done. But a responsible government should not be afraid of taking unpopular decisions that will save lives. Leadership is not an easy thing. So if you aspire to leadership, you should be prepared to take unpleasant decisions for the good of the people.
But aside the political cost, there's also the alternative, which will come up anytime you talk about relocating the people. The point that, well, look, if you're moving 50 people out of the area, you need to find them a place to live.
Okay, let me ask, if there was an earthquake right now, wouldn't we find a place to move the people? If we had a disaster right now, we'd find a place for them. So let's put it this way, that this is a disaster waiting to happen. And nobody is going to forgive us. If we saw what was happening, we stood idly by, something happens and there's a mass loss of life. Yeah. We really need to do something now. So these are excuses. We can't find a place. That is if we appreciate the seriousness of the situation. But somehow a disaster comes, we all jump up and down, and then somehow it fades and we forget about it. There's no consistent dealing with a problem to make sure that it doesn't happen again. If you don't deal with these reckless criminals who are endangering lives, they've already killed somebody, they're endangering lives. If we don't deal with them seriously, we're encouraging others to continue doing what they are doing. But if we were to deal with them harshly, as the law demands, they would stop. Or at least people will not be encouraged to do the same thing.
And Erastus, that brings to mind the issue about the decision of the Regional Security Council. What are the options on the table now? Erastus? Erastus, I was asking about the Regional Security Council, the issue being moved to that level. What are the options on the table now?
Well, so I have seen a letter coming signed by the regional minister calling for the setting up of a committee involving all the stakeholders, i.e. the Lands Commission, the Minerals Commission, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Assembly itself, the Northern Gold Company, that is who owned the concession in that area itself. And let me say that the company could also be held liable because they own an old shaft, which is in the area that the miners are used to enter underground. And it's supposed to be cordoned off and protected. They also own some pits that are unprotected. I think that they should all come together and find a solution to this. So we are yet to see how that committee will meet and what solutions will be developed out of this. But I must say that whatever solutions they are thinking of, this is a waiting disaster. Any moment, one of those compound houses carrying about 15 people will come down, and that will be a disaster for everybody.
Okay, Erastus, thank you. We'll reconnect some time later when we get updates on the story. We need to go. What would be your message to residents of the community? And I mean, at large, let's feed this into our fight against galamsey. Well,
I've always said it's a clear and present danger. And people should not always wait till they are personally affected to do something about a situation. The residents know the people, the criminals causing this. If they have to go and arrest them all and take them to the police station, I don't know. But something needs to be done. As we've been told, there's a disaster waiting to happen. You know, it's an urgent situation. We can't waste any more time. So everybody needs to join the fight against illegal mining. Everybody needs to join. The chiefs, the people, security forces, MCEs, politicians, and we must not play politics with it. It's too serious a matter. And I think what needs to happen is that the communities need to understand that at the end of the day, it's their lives that are at stake, and they can't wait for anybody. They need to take action.
Right. Grateful, Aula. We'll see you again, definitely when another issue comes up. But we're just praying that government will deal with this matter urgently. Yes, indeed, we need to do that. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we'll be talking about the Agenda 111 shortly. Government has been giving updates on its health policy. We'll get into that after this break. Please stay. Thanks for staying with us. Government is going after some contractors who failed to complete projects awarded to them under the Agenda 111 project. Well, let's get more on that. Joining me in studio now is Manasseh Atta-Boahene, his government spokesperson on the economy. Thank you, Manasseh, for spending some time with us here on The Pulse. Clearly, a couple of days ago, it was yesterday actually, we saw the team move to assess how government is faring with the implementation of the Agenda 111. It's shocking to learn that some individuals who were awarded the contracts are not delivering as expected.
Very good afternoon to you. To our cherished viewers. Indeed, yesterday was important for the government to deliver on its promise of updating Ghanaians on the progress of the work on the Agenda 111 hospital projects. And as we all know, government was able to provide updates on some 54 hospital projects, and we were able to visit 33 so far. And so we decided to do the press briefing from Trede in the Ashanti region, where it all began, for the nation to know how far we've come with the various projects. Concerning your specific question, it is indeed true that 3 contracts have been terminated, and the reasons are simply because most of these contractors are behind schedule. We've had issues with contract timelines, and once there is a timeline for the project, there are no issues with money. And so we do not see why...
Are you saying that for a fact, or you're saying it because these contractors are not delivering?
I am saying that for a fact, that there are no issues with money. Money is available, and so we do not see why some of the contracts will be delaying. And that's how come government has had to sit with some of these contracts to even terminate their contracts to ensure we are able to bring the projects up to speed, to ensure we are able to complete. So it's good news for us to visit these sites and to know the progress of these Agenda 111 hospitals. We are confident that by December this year, we'll be able to commission about 45 of them.
Okay, take us through the status and what we know so far about the regions, I mean, the percentage of completion, and as you, the politicians, would say, the work is still in the pipeline. So just update us on what you've done so far. Have you completed at least one out of any of the projects that were started?
Yeah, we've not completed any as of now, but the good news is that most of them are at various stages of completion. The Agenda 111, for example, is at 61%, and we are confident that going forward, before the end of the year, we'll be able to complete it. We have grouped the projects into 8 zones for easy purposes of monitoring and supervision. And for the Zone 1, we have regions: Central Region, Western North Region, Ahafo, and Bono Region. We have 11 districts, 11 district hospitals which are under construction. And we have 1 regional hospital for the Zone 1. For Zone 2, we have Central Region, Eastern Region, and the Western Region. It also has 11 district hospitals under construction with 1 regional hospital. Then for Zone 3, we have Greater Accra Region and the Eastern Region. This zone has 14 district hospitals, with 1 regional psychiatric hospital. Then for Zone 4, we have Greater Accra again and Uti Region. Then for Zone 5, we have Upper West Region, Northern Region, and Savannah Region with 12 district hospitals and 1 regional hospital. Then for Zone 6, we have the Upper East Region, the Northern Region, and the Upper and the Northeast Region. So Upper East Region, Northeast Region, and the Northern Region for Zone 6. Then for Zone 7, we have Volta and Bono East with 11 district hospitals and 1 regional hospital. Then for Zone 8, we have Ashanti Region with 15 district hospitals and 1 regional hospital, as well as 1 regional psychiatric hospital.
So what you're telling us now is that, various stages of completion, that's the term you're using.
Exactly.
For now. Exactly. And you're hopeful that all of this will be completed when?
We hope that by December, we would have completed about 45 of them. So that's the
time.
Based on the progress of the work thus far. So, for example, when you go to Trifohiman, you realize that the work over there is around 58.9% near completion. When you go to Ewutu Senya, the work progress is around 55.5%. And most of these have their structures even roofed. Yes, there are a lot of work to be done concerning plastering, but some of them are roofed. Some of them too are at the lintel level. And so we are confident that given the speed of work on site, by December this year, we'll be able to complete and commission about 45 of them.
And we need to know this. Are you aware that the president's timeline has elapsed?
Indeed. You know, we commissioned this, or we started this project with a timeline of 18 months. But given what has happened we are unable to do it. So what we have done is to review the contracts we have had with a lot of the contractors to find out why some of the projects have delayed. Of course, it is trite knowledge that some of the areas had issues with site. We couldn't get land to even commence the project. But as we speak, we've been able to resolve some of the issues. Bantama, for example, had issues of that nature. And so because of that, we put a double stack building or a story building over there. And so, yes, we accept that our timelines, we've not been able to reach them. But given the speed of work on the various sites we have visited so far, we are very confident that once we do not have challenge with money or finances, by December, we'll be able to commission about 45 of them.
Okay. Why should we believe the assurances you're giving us, particularly when we know that you've given us the first timeline, you've gone way past that? I mean, we've gone way beyond the deadline. So why should we trust you this time around?
Very simple, based on the progress of work. So when you
so is the problem from the contractors or from government?
I mean, from the contractors. I've maintained that we've not had issues with money.
Okay.
Because when looking at the updates from the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, money is always available for these projects. And as a contractor, if you perform or if you build up to a certain point, you present or you tender in your certificate for your money. And so money is not an issue. And given the speed of work at the various sites, the 54 updates we have given so far, with some of the buildings being roofed, with some at the lintel level, we are very confident that once we do not have issues with money, the contractors who have given us their word that they are working with a high level of speed to ensure we are able to commission about 45 of them.
So you're not blaming the contractors?
I am saying that the issue, of course, has had to do with some of the contractors. The reasons why they were behind
not
exactly
all.
Because some of them are far advanced in what they are doing. Some with their work, they are around 61%, others a little above 50%, a lot of them in their 60s. And so it is surprising to find out that some contractors up to today have not even done anything yet. Some, when you look at the rate of work they have done on site, it is unacceptable, to say the least. And so we are confident that given the speed of work that most of the contractors have done on site, that we have had a chance to inspect, to see for ourselves, we know that once there are no issues with money, they will be able to complete them by December this year. 45 of them.
45?
45, yes.
Okay, so that'll be 45 out of
45 out of the 88.
When do you intend to complete the rest?
Next year. So the contractors are different. We have different. In fact, for one site, you could even find 3 or even 4 contractors. And so everybody has his or her target. We are confident that if you're able to complete the 45 this year, moving into next year, we'll also be able to expedite work to complete the rest.
So the next will be done, the next batch, about 40 of them next year?
Next year. You see, all the projects are ongoing. But because some have reached, for example, Trader is at 61%. So if Trader is at 61% and another project is at 30%, it's highly possible for the work at Trader to be completed before that of the other project, which is around 30%. Okay. And so all the works are ongoing in all the 88 sites, and we are confident that we would complete about 45 of them. It may not be possible for us to complete and commission all of them at the same time, but we know that by December, we will be able to complete and commission 45 of the agenda.
Okay, let's talk about these 3 contractors that we're learning of, who are nowhere to be found. Is that the best description to use for them? Where are they and why are you looking for them?
Government has had issues with their contract. There's been issues of delay. They were unable to meet construction timelines. And given the speed of work government wants, government is unable to continue with the contract with them. And so we've had to cancel the contract and re-award the contract to new contractors. And as we speak, all these new contractors are on site.
So why are you after them then, if you've given the contract to someone else?
There are issues with contractors. So in the contract clause, there will be issues. If you have issues of non-performance, I'm sure there will be a clause in there for...
You are sure, or you know about it?
I know. There are some
I'm asking you because you put out a statement that, well, we can't find them, we don't know where they are. But these are businesses that are supposed to be dealing with government. So sure. How come that you're still looking for them as of now?
So we are looking for them because we had a contractual agreement with them. And once they are unable to meet those timelines, it's important for us to look for them and see what the law provides in that regard.
Do we know the facilities which they were, expected to construct? Which areas they fall under, and which of the zones that you have put? The zones that you've put out on the show now. Do we know which of them? Which zone they fall under?
No. I don't know this. I only know that, for example, the Yasin North construction, the Yasin North Agenda 111 had issues, and so we had to cancel the contract and re-award it to someone else. For the rest, I'm not too sure.
Okay, so this is for Yasin North. When do you intend to resume work on the Yasin North?
Work has begun.
Okay, so you've given that to another person.
Exactly. So for all the 3 contracts that have been cancelled, we have re-awarded them, and the contractors are on site as we speak.
So where's the Yasin North contractor gone to?
I know he's on site.
Oh no, that's the new one.
That's the new.
The previous
the
person.
Old one.
Yes.
It will be difficult for me to tell, but whatever be the case, government will.
So why are you okay? So the point is, if you've given it to a new person, why not rather pile pressure on the new person to complete the project?
That's what the new person is doing. We had issues with the old contractors with these 3 contracts that have been cancelled. There were issues of non-performance. There were issues of timelines that were not met. There were issues of standards, performance standards that were not met. Okay. And so government had to cancel the contracts for these contracts to be re-awarded to new contractors. And these new contractors are on site as we speak to expedite the work.
All right. Let's look at the Yasin North area. When did you award this new contract to the contractor?
I don't have these fine details, but I am aware it has been re-awarded and the contractor is on site.
So, how then do we believe that indeed you've given that to a new contractor? Because the paperwork have to speak for itself.
Of course, I can solicit for the paperwork for you, but I know that it has been taken off the old contractor and it has been given to a new one, so that we'll be able to meet the timelines. As you mentioned, government's timeline of 18 months wasn't been able to be fulfilled because of the issues we have with contractors. And so going forward, the government has demonstrated a high level of commitment to ensure that any contractor who is not working up to speed will be taken off the contract, so that we'll be able to finish all these projects on time.
Next year is your target of completing the entire project. Are you not doing this for the elections?
Oh, not at all. We believe that this Agenda 111 is the single, what's the name, most important health infrastructure project in the history of this country. And it is sad to know that today, as we speak, some districts do not have hospitals. And the COVID also exposed the inefficiencies in our health sector. And so government is very much committed to ensure that across the various districts that do not have district hospitals, we are able to put up this health infrastructure to serve the people over there, so that when someone has to benefit from the services of these hospitals, the person wouldn't have to travel far and wide to a regional hospital. So we are committed to ensuring we are able to work on this as soon as possible.
Okay. You have any final words for our viewers?
Yeah, so my final words is that government has begun the updates of the Agenda 111. And as we speak, 88 of these projects are ongoing. We've been able to provide updates on 54 of them. And we are confident that by end of year, we'll be able to commission 45 of them. We had issues. Some people were saying Agenda 111 is only a rhetoric. There is nothing. In fact, some people were confident enough to say that you can never find anywhere in this country where a structure, a hospital is being put up under Agenda 111. And so it was important for government to update the nation for everyone to see. And these are verifiable projects. You can visit Trader, you can visit Ewutu Senior, you can visit Ofuasi, you can visit all the others.
But you haven't completed any of them.
We haven't. We are confident that once most of them are around 60% completion, by end of year December, we'll be able to complete 45.
Okay, so until December, it's fair for anyone to say you failed in delivering on your mandate.
We have not failed. We have not failed in the sense that today, when you visit all the 88 sites, you would see structures, most of which have been roofed, most of which are at the lintel level. And so there is something for us to lay hold on, that yes, this is the Agenda 111 project, just that we've not been able to complete any. Right. That's why we are confident that going forward, we'll put the contractors in check. They are responsible for the work they put out there. And so once government has provided finances to ensure you're able to build on time, we don't see why they will delay government and the people of Ghana of this.
Why is it that government is still waiting for these Agenda 111 projects when we have facilities completed? For instance, I recall my colleague Ohimin Tewia in the Ashanti region making, this full report on the regional hospital that is supposed to be built for, I guess that's for the people of the Ashanti region. That facility is rotting away. You have facilities that you're building now, which you have not completed. You're hoping to complete them, 40 of them, in December, and you're letting the rest to rot away.
I mean, government is concerned with every infrastructure in this country, even the ones that were not started, that we didn't start. So what government is doing is to ensure that every district would have one hospital. Of course, Konfanoche, for example, we have the maternity block, 44-year-old, it was pulled down. Yeah. And when you look at the speed of work over there, it is quite amazing. Government is putting in more resources to ensure we are able to finish that on time. And so every project that is stuck in the bush or whatever, government would pay more attention to.
Yes, but these are projects that are completed. It's not as though you're waiting for someone to come in.
Which area?
Oh, for instance, the one Ohiming did. I'll get a name for you, but it's one of the hospitals. I get it's one of the facilities that started under the NDC administration. It's been finished up, and we're just waiting that you open it up. This should be the Ashanti region. Yes, correct.
Well, I'm not aware. I mean, if we knew where the hospital was, I think it would have advanced the conversation. I'm not too sure of any hospital of this.
So if I get you, if I get you the name, you get us some update on.
Yes, I can. I mean, the next time we'll have this conversation, I'm sure I'll be able to.
What if I give that to you now?
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm just making that point about the broader challenge we have. The fact that your government is allowing or letting the rest that were completed under a certain regime over the years past to rot away, and you're spending money on Agenda 111, which is not even complete. Open the rest. Why not?
I'm saying we've not been able to mention any one of them. I'm not denying that, but I'm saying if we were able to mention the area where this hospital is being sited, then of course we'll be able to know the speed of work over there. But government wants to ensure that in every district, you see, sometimes it's difficult. Trader, for example, when you live at Trader, and you want to access Konfanoche, if you go through if you go through Brofedu, Kokobeng, the traffic alone, if someone has an emergency and you want to transport the person from Trede, going through Kokobeng, Santase, roundabout to Konfanoche, I'm sure it will be terrible because the traffic situation is worse. That's why government wants to ensure that in every district of which there is no district hospital, government will have to put up one hospital over there so that it will reduce the traveling time. You wouldn't have to travel far and wide to access these hospitals. And the employment opportunities Agenda 111 will come with are so huge, providing opportunities for doctors, nurses, caterers, and a lot more. And so,
what timeline do you have to opening the pre-existing ones which have not been commissioned? That's the question.
Yeah, so I wish you could mention...
Is it that you don't have a fine timeline on when you intend to open some of these other facilities that may have been completed?
Yes, but able to mention the facility. I'm also interested because I'm from the Ashanti region. Okay. Yeah, so I wish I could know.
I'm sure my producers will just get that for you. It's one of the hospitals, yes.
Up to see if indeed the facility has been completed, and we need to commission. We'll see how best we'll be able to.
For instance, there's the military hospital that's being built in is it the Afari, or is that the name of the facility? For instance, that one, for instance, was started way before the Agenda 111. You still not tackled that hospital, for instance. So I'm trying to make the point that there are projects before, and yet you haven't dealt with them.
Yes, and I'm saying that, you see, the aim of government is to ensure that every project, whether it's completed or not, will be able to work on it very fast. I mean, when the structures are being completed, the installations alone is quite huge and it's capital intensive as well. And so if there is a thing of the sort, I'm sure the Health Service and the Ghana Infrastructure Fund and the government at large is aware and will move in with speed to ensure we are able to bring in more equipment.
But for now, you don't have any plans of opening these hospitals?
I mean, once we're able to put in more equipment into the hospital, we'll be able to open it. So that's what government is looking at, to ensure that if indeed the Afari hospital is being completed, we'll look at ways in which we'll be able to bring in more hospital equipment.
Right.
To open.
But you don't have a plan now to say, okay, we'll open pre-existing ones. There's no timeline for that.
What I'm saying is that once a hospital has been built, the aim of this government is to ensure that we are able to bring in more equipment to see the hospital running, to serve the needs of the Ghanaian people. And so if that is done, government is working hard at it to ensure that very soon we'll be able to open the hospital.
Okay, then. Grateful that you've been able to spend some time with us. And we know now that the pharmaceutical industry relies on certain materials known as some sort of excipients for formulated drugs as well. Unfortunately, these materials are mostly imported, and of course they are very necessary for the industry. There's more in this report for you.
Completing her bachelor's degree in pharmacy at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, she fell in love with the processes drugs go through before they are made available for consumption. Mariam then took up the field of pharmaceutics, a branch of pharmacy concerned with the formulation and quality analysis of drugs to help her fulfill that desire. She completed both her master's and doctorate degrees in pharmaceutics at KNUST.
Because it is reported that sub-Saharan African region, we spend about 70 to 90% of the budget, the national budget, to import drugs as raw materials or as finished products. And this is seriously affecting us in terms of good health and well-being. And so that is one area that my research focuses on, to use naturally available or locally available natural polymers as excipients. And so far so good, it's working. And we are at various stages of development. The other aspects that we are into is quality control. Now, there are a lot of substandard and counterfeit or fake medications in the system. And I know the regulatory agencies do a lot of post-market surveillance to check the quality of drugs on the market. However, it's not enough. So one of the key things that we do is that we try our best to do this post-market surveillance. We pick samples of drugs from pharmacies, from over-the-counter medicine seller shops, and test them to make sure that they are up to standard.
One of her earliest works, which was published in the 2012 edition of Asian Journal of Pharmaceutical and Clinical Research, focused on naturally occurring gums as excipients in the pharmaceutical industry, was promising. Professor Mariam and colleagues found that adding cashew gum to paracetamol enhanced the drug's mechanical strength while not hindering how the drug is released in the body.
With the local excipients that we are looking into, so far we've done extensive work on okra pectin, and it has shown very promising results. And so the future is bright, actually. And one key thing about this research is that, you know, in Ghana, we have seasons for certain food products, so like yam and okra. And during the bumper season, we have them in abundance, and we have no way of storing any of it. And then in the lean season, there's nothing. It's all gone bad, left to rot on the farms. Now, this research area helps in preventing this post-harvest wastage. So we are not competing with the food industry, no, but the excess products, the pharmaceutical industry is now going to mop it up. So all the excess okra, all the excess yam and other food crops that have pectin that we have extracted, we are going to convert this post-harvest wastage into wealth for the farmers and for all those involved. And also, eventually, it will lead to reduction in the cost of medications.
Mariam L. Boachejesi is one of the youngest associate professors at the KNUST, some few years shy of 40. She's excited her feat to inspire the next generation of scientists.
I'm actually quite humbled. It's a very humbling experience One of my main aims teaching over the past decade has not been just to impart knowledge to students in the lecture halls, but also to guide and inspire them. And what better way to do this than to show them that it can be done?
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Indications consistent increase in the price of flour and baking products are reducing patronage in some parts of the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. The price of a bag of flour has shot up from 580 cedis in the first quarter of this year to 650 Ghana cedis. Some retailers of bread say the size of a loaf has reduced, and this has affected the daily sales and profit margins. Love FM's Mona Lisa Frimpong has more.
A bag of flour which sold at 580 Ghana cedis in the first quarter of this year currently sells at 650 Ghana cedis. Prices of other raw materials such as margarine, salt, milk, sugar, eggs have equally shot up. The price hike is pushing most flour users, especially bakeries, out of business. Some bakers say they now use small amounts of some ingredients and essential additives in baking bread. This, they say, has affected the quality of bread on the market.
One, sikani system ni mo. Ana pano so ye aduane bia ya kona aduane. Ye to e de so komso. Nti imagine say ubeyi be say 30 cedis 40 cedis akoto bread abra uyi say sikana e bia betimi ato bayire ana se bia betimi ato mori ana se bibisa ma wo modi amen be na de beto bread.
The situation is affecting some consumers of bread who say they now patronize other flour products aside bread.
Bia betimi ato pan no fu bu kakra bi ni na asa say de we omusi kese no o mate so enintia. Na ne den so ko no ma no mo de ye no o matete so eni ntamaji ni sugar na ekosua na o mo de frafra no matete so
nipa ni gumu ahoro still ebi de ede still ebi nso de enye ene nipa na mo nso ayeye pan no nse se obeyi ne yem no aye ne ye no onye ne sa esa ni sika ne mfaso bumu a wo penti obeye ni biala no nso ni se ye ya ye be dey ye beto
na keze ye pan no first udi pan no to say yes mi swa kura me ya be ma no abrante ye no pan no Kumasi ya na esi supa ginani Africa bonguru on a pan no the whole Kumasi utimi say esa ya take me ti asafu samre no me nanti firo me ko hokotobi eba
what to na die ya
oh and na die say nya pano no ebi obi em kura ahwini.
I don't have any problem with any baker these days because it's very expensive to get a loaf of bread or even a piece of bread, which doesn't make sense because you cannot be chewing the bread like you are chewing, eating something.
You need to add something.
You need to add something. So you have to complement it with something. So if you have to go for a piece of bread or a loaf of bread for 20 cedis, 20 cedis alone for bread, hello.
On the streets of Kumasi, retailers say they are recording low sales. According to them, their daily sales of 50 loaves have dwindled to between 25 and 30 loaves of bread. They want government to reduce taxes on raw materials to keep them in business.
When I joined the business, it was moving all right. But these days, the business wasn't going all that because they said it was 10 cedi. Now it's 12 cedi. People are complaining. Sometimes when you take bus, when bus come and take you, then they are going. Somebody say, "Oh, how much is the bread?" When you say it's 12 cedi, they'll say they'll be complaining that it's too much because it's 12 cedi.
This is the man boy. They call because they say, "On our back, I'm saying, I'm about to pay 12 cedi." This is my say acquire brasa. I want to say first it's me £100. They say pound 50 and me
Leadership of the Ashanti Flour Users Association tells Love News that despite petitioning government over the excessive hikes in the price of flour, the situation persists. CEO of Matiko Bakery, Ekwia Friye, and Isaac Ajiman wants government to come to their aid.
Esamono baby kono free be 120
2020 na 120 na call ya kodu 600 ya kasa anwa na ke stress aban betumi aye hu bibi aman ba ye pem ya call Minister of Trade wo Accra nyina de ekon yehu ye ne say efi last year October na aba December no money de price na omo ante so ebo no so a amon Fabian County maintaining standards be pem say do January intina ye empire born no say sane economical situation say ye ntinka ye ba January ya nka e bia mbati ase na omo atiso aman but say a bro January months no ya san increase in premium san a cost 620 630 na say ye ka say 650.
For Joy Business, Mona Lisa Frimpon reporting.
I asked my husband to resign as the vice president many times. That's according to the wife of former vice president Matilda Emisarantha, who says there were times her husband was down because of some of the unpleasant things that were said about him. She was speaking in a yet-to-be-aired interview on Personality Profile.
Well, was there a time that you told him to actually pull out, resign?
Many times.
And let's have
many
peace.
times. Many times. But after I said that, I realized that, but if he pulls out, who would say the kind of things he's saying?
Yeah.
So he should be there, even if it's not listened to, say it and make the difference.
Wow.
I believe that even if you are the only person who's doing the right thing in a place, not just politics, anywhere, you are the only person, don't be discouraged. Stay there and do the right thing, say the right thing, make a difference, and it will impact. Even if it impacts on one person, you've done your job.
And be sure to watch that interview when it airs. We'll bring that to you here on the Joy News channel. And 12 girls from low-income backgrounds have been equipped to become tech-savvy, having completed a 6-week coding course organized by the Soronko Academy. The beneficiaries, aged between 17 and 25, are now empowered to undertake various tasks, actually, in the digital space. We have more for you.
A total of 300 girls have so far benefited from the Soronko Academy Digital Skills course, which was launched in the year 2020. The initiative was instituted with the objective to equip girls in basic Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, G Suite, color creation, among others. Beneficiaries are expected to be prepared for their digital economy after enrolling for the course. Originally introduced in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic as a basic literacy project, the Soronko Academy Digital Skills course has developed into an economic empowerment project with focus on job creation. The 12 participants are the last batch of beneficiaries of the project. The Accra Rotarian President, C.C. Bruce Jr., tells us more.
We all know women are underrepresented in technology. So the focus of this project is to train them in coding, which is the foundation of technology. And we also added soft skills to build their confidence and their public speaking and to prepare them for various areas, any area they want to develop themselves in future.
Chief Executive Officer of Soronko Academy, Regina Honu, said coding is a new language which everyone must learn.
Coding is like any language that you learn, they are the foundations of the language. So anybody can learn to code. I think in today's world, the new literacy we have is reading, writing, and the ability to code. Because how our world is being more enabled digitally, without that ability, you'll be left behind.
Some of the participants shared their experiences.
I saw them on LinkedIn and I saw this opportunity. I was like, should I try it? So I know nothing about coding, but let me just give it a try because I'm a student from the University of Ghana and scheduling this with my academics is going to be stressful. But I was like, let me give it a try. And it's been amazing since the inception of this program. It's been amazing. I've learned a lot.
I think that this has been very, very insightful for me, particularly because it was challenging. Because I've always heard about coding, but I didn't know that coding could be easier when you put yourself to learn it, right? So I think that the opportunity given me has given me like the confidence to be able to take on projects and challenge myself to do better all the time.
Certificates of coding were presented to the participants. Karen Obeng's report read to you.
And 25 schools in the Ashanti region are being, of course, focused on as we talk about the National Science and Maths Quiz, which, of course, is coming up strongly. We'll tell you about the contest and how it's looking like for the national level. But in the Ashanti region, we know that schools such as Prempeh College are gearing up to dethrone Opoku-Ware School for the bragging rights as the quest to crown a school as the best science school in the region begins today. The 3-day contest will see some of the region's best schools slug it out for the academic supremacy. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku has the rest of the story.
Sights and sounds as schools qualify for the regional and national championship. 80 schools in the Ashanti region battled it out for one of the 18 available slots for the region. The schools will be joining 8 seeded schools from the region to square up in the regional championship. Presently, Opoku-Ware wields the bragging rights as the champions in the region. But would they pay loyalty to Akata Slopsa and allow the trophy slip them by as the two lovebirds clash in a contest?
What is going to happen?
We will slaughter them. We will slaughter them. We will step on them. We will kill them.
Well, the girls are not the only ones eyeing the trophy. 24 other schools in the region are set to clinch the regional title. While some are fixated on the trophy, others only want to unseat high-grade schools.
As for now, I want to unseat either Prempeh or WAS.
You want to unseat?
His prayers may have been answered as he clashes with Prempeh College. Another highly anticipated contest will be one between the host school Prempeh College and T.I. Amedia Senior High School. They have a message for the boys from the Greenland.
We possess good morals and high integrity.
What is Prempeh College, Opoku-Ware, to you?
To me, what is Prempeh College in Opoku-Ware?
To Amas. And they your small boys also. What are
1 year. They are in kindergarten. They are even toddlers to us. Actually, I don't even know what to say.
Tentacles.
Last year, we weren't able to come because of certain reasons. But this year, we are fully prepared. We are fully armed.
Kumasi Anglican Secondary School is entering the championship as the highest scoring school from the qualifiers.
We are all ordinary people, but our cast is an extraordinary person because we have extra strategies for them. We are the brilliant students in Ghana, no doubt to doubtless. We are going to win it 7 times.
We are the game. We are the game.
For a number of students, it is time to make a statement for their schools.
You know, World Cup, who won? Argentina. They were wearing what? Blue. You get me? Champions League, who won? Man City. Their jersey is what? This year is our year, and we are also wearing what?
We are not scared.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
And quite a charged atmosphere as we look out to that Ashanti regional contest, but in what many had expected to be a tussle for St. Louis SHS, the ladies from the Louisville pulled a surprise, and they did that by trashing their all-boy competitors to qualify for the national tournament. They beat competition from the Jachi Bramsu SHS, Ejisu STS, and also Agogo State College with some 65 points.
We shall be one. Depends on us. Posterity depends on us. St. Louis, the base at the primus seat of Paris. We shall always be there.
All right. So these are the leaders from St. Louis Senior High School. They just qualified to the national tournament, and so far I should say they are the school or the all-female school with the highest points. They scored some 65 points as against the other female schools. Slop Sands! Slop Sands! If I should tell you, so far you are the best performing female schools in our qualifiers. How does this make you feel?
We are very happy and we are very glad. And our victory today is a testament to the hard work and dedication of our team.
Interestingly, Yasantua came here and they struggled a bit to get some points. They qualified with some 40 points. You are qualifying with 65 points. When you meet them, are you going to slay them or what? What is going to happen? Hey, what is going to happen?
We will slaughter them. We will slaughter them. We will step on them. We will kill them.
You will kill Yasantua?
Yes.
Okay. Contestants, let me find out from you. Your girls are telling me when they meet Yasantua girls, just in case at the regional championship, they are going to slaughter them, kill them, murder them, massacre them. What do you have saying?
All I have to say, what they are saying is true. And
it's true.
It's true. And we are just going to take it one contest at a time, and surely we'll get to the top.
We will do all we can to be the first females to win the NSM kill for the first time in Ghana.
For the very first time?
Yes.
You are going to beat Wesley girls.
Yes. We will beat Wesley girls, Holy Child, Abri girls, like all girls.
All girls schools.
Yes.
Name it.
Interestingly, you have your boys at Prempeh College. They are not your boys. They are surrounding you. Are you not so scared that they will beat you when they meet you at the final? So what message? You are not scared of them at all. You are not scared. So what message you have for them? They are standing right here. What message you have for them?
Watch out, we are coming live and colored. Speed! With accuracy. Hit! Yes.
You beat them?
Yes.
They're simple. You do it simple. Okay, so these are the ladies from St. Louis Senior High School. They say they'll take the contest gradually and hopefully they'll beat any other contender and become the very first school, all-female school in Ghana to clinch the National Science and Math Quiz. As we know, we don't have any school, any female school getting the trophy, but they are hoping that they will get the trophy and become the first female school in Ghana to clinch the national championship. From here in Kumasi, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
And that's all we have for you in this package of the Pulse. I am Blessed Suga. Thanks for watching. Log on to myjoyonline.com. We do have a number of stories for you there to catch up on.